I've been looking over a bunch of Deshaun Watson stats lines for the 2023 season, and I got to be honest, people are crazy low on what they think Deshaun Watson is going to do this year. Also, you want a kicker battle? I think the name that may be coming to Cleveland has just been released from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Your latest Locked On Browns starts now.
You are Locked On Browns, your daily Cleveland Browns podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome back, my friends, to the show that never ends, your daily delivery of all things dog pound, LGB, NELOB, the Locked On Browns podcast, brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Your host, Jeff Lloyd. A lot of new traffic over the last 24 hours, almost 70 new subscribers. 5 days a week. That's the Locked On premise. That's what we do. So you get minimum 5 episodes a week. Once we get full tilt, probably get them all damn near every day. But I appreciate everybody for jumping in, making Locked On Browns your first listen. Join the everyday crowd by subscribing to Locked On Browns YouTube channel. Appreciate every single one of you. We're going to get to the Deshaun Watson thing here, but just basically went down now. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers have released kicker Rodrigo Blankenship. Rodrigo Blankenship, former University of Georgia Bulldog, also spent time with the Indianapolis Colts. His special teams coach then at Indianapolis, current Cleveland Browns special teams coach, Bubba Ventrone. Look, we know how these things kind of work. Guys have their people, their guys. So we should find out, hopefully quickly, whether or not this is something the Browns are going to pursue and bring in Blankenship. I think his success rate was about 83.3% with the Indianapolis Colts, which isn't great, seeing that, in the AFC South, with the Colts, he had minimum 8 games a year in a dome. And then, of course, Houston, games in Jacksonville, Tennessee. So certainly weather friendly. He comes in. I think he's capable of beating Cade York, in my opinion. Probably not. But everybody who's looking for somebody to come in here and maybe battle, this might be the guy to come in here for the week and, battle with, of course, Cade York, Rodrigo Blankenship. So, that could be something here. The Deshaun Watson thing, now I'm going through projections, and I've gone through everybody's site. And basically it averages out to about 3,800 yards a year. Touchdowns vary. Nobody has him, as far as I could tell, over the 30 number that Baker Mayfield threw in his rookie year. Completion percentage, everybody's lower than I think. When you say a quarterback, in 17 games to throw for 4,000 yards, which I truly believe Deshaun Watson is going to do. I believe he's going to throw for 4,000 yards. He needs to average in 17 games 235 yards. That is not a difficult task by any means whatsoever. And we're talking about a guy who had, statistically, you put it that way, completion percentage, touchdowns versus interceptions, one of the most incredible seasons a quarterback has ever had in 2020, Deshaun Watson. The 30 touchdown mark, he's going to finish in less than 2 touchdown passes per game. We really believe that? Does anybody really believe that? This man has Amari Cooper. This man has Elijah Moore. He has Donovan Peoples-Jones, Cedric Tillman, David Njoku, Jordan Akins, who everybody just raves about to the Browns camp. Jordan Akins doesn't really block. We get it. But Jordan Akins is a really, really good receiving tight end. And, Deshaun Watson has had a lot of success within the red zone, all right, within the red zone with his tight ends over the years. It's not really been a position he's flourished with throughout his career. So throwing all these balls to David Njoku between the hashes, over the top of the linebackers and, getting it in ball, in front of the safeties. This isn't a lot of routes that Deshaun has thrown in his career in the NFL. But he's certainly capable of doing it. And having a player like David Njoku and Jordan Akins certainly, puts you in a position where you want to feature your tight ends more. These guys are athletic. They're, mismatched nightmares. But I can't even fathom that you think that this guy is not going to be capable of putting up 4,000 yards, probably, I would say north of 35 touchdowns. There is just way too much talent. And I think one of the things that maybe people are getting to be a little, as far as confused on the Browns. Look, the Browns in years past, they have never really been a great yards after the catch team. A lot of them, rollouts and, guys just were wide open in space and ran after the catch. No, I mean, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about straight, beating guys one-on-one and, taking an 11-yard play and turn it into 25, 26-yard play. Things that Elijah Moore can do. Elijah Moore is just that type of guy. He brings that type of juice. Njoku and Akins, they can't essentially be covered. They are just difficult matchups. So once they beat these linebackers on these routes, or once they catch the ball in front of the safeties on these routes, they're going to run past the linebackers or they're going to run through the safeties. I mean, this is what, the capability of this offense, the way it is construed this year is. Then you throw into the fact that, Nick Chubb, and I continue to say this, and I don't think a lot of people believe it, Nick Chubb's going to catch a lot of easy balls this year because once your concentration is on Coop, Moore, DPJ, and David, and these guys are out there doing their thing, there's going to be so many stupid, simple, flat routes open for Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb is going to have his best statistical receiving year in his entire, tenure here with the Cleveland Browns. It may come at a cost of, less carries, which I think the Browns are okay with because you want to be a playoff team. You don't want Nick Chubb, basically, carrying you through to week 18 and then has nothing left for you once you get to the playoffs. So Nick's going to be more involved there. I keep telling you guys this, whoever chooses to listen, I do appreciate it, but it's just it's more ways to get the ball in Nick's hands with a lot less wear and tear. He's going to take less big hits. It's going to be less, pile ups where there's 700 pounds of dude jumping all over Nick Chubb, when they go 8 in the box and, the Browns don't adjust by throwing the ball. And we've certainly seen that in the past. Ravens games, certainly, right, guys? But this Nick Chubb's going to really flourish this year in a receiving game, and it should be a special year for him. But for Deshaun Watson, it's going to be north of 4,000 yards. No question about it. It's going to be north of 35 touchdowns. Interception number, it's going to come down from last year as far as interception rate, but I believe we're going to look at maybe more of a number where you see Deshaun Watson. It's probably going to be in that little less than 1 per game, maybe over 17 games, 13 interceptions, perhaps 14 interceptions. But the overall thought process on why Deshaun Watson is just not going to be a highly statistical quarterback just absolutely befuddles me. The Browns have put in a ton here and have given him a ton to work with, a ton of talent to work with. Deshaun Watson being slept on by many. Browns fans, I know you're not sleeping on him. I know Browns fans really think and see what is about to come to fruition here with this team, with this player. Big step up year, big resurrection year for quarterback number 4, Deshaun Watson for the Cleveland Browns. We're going to flip it up here. We're going to start talking about some of the offensive stars over the last month here in training camp. Segment 3, we'll get to the defensive stars here. A lot of guys, who came in here with not maybe a chance. And a lot of guys really flipped that narrative and have done a lot to help themselves in their time with the Browns here, of course, down in West Virginia, and now down in Berea. Jeff Lloyd, your latest Locked On Browns. Appreciate everybody for being along for the ride. Are you buying tickets to your favorite events? And it shouldn't be stressful. Gametime is the fastest and easiest way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater near you. With killer deals on last-minute tickets and their best price guarantee, you can stop stressing over the tickets and start getting hyped for the fun you'll have. Look, you use Gametime. Look, they got flash deals. They always have last-minute ticket releases. It's easy to find and buy tickets for every kind of event in your area, literally theater tickets, concert tickets. My wife and daughters, they're out all the time going to see live stuff. They really, really enjoy Gametime. They have the lowest price guarantee, event cancellation protection, job loss protection. They're an app that are willing to have your business, but are also willing to understand the struggles a customer can go through. Forget planning months in advance. Gametime has deals on tickets right now up to the day of the event. Get exclusive flash deals on tickets for football, basketball, baseball, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. The Gametime guarantee means you'll always get the best price. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Gametime will credit you 110% of the difference. Get images of your seat before you buy so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. Buy tickets in a matter of seconds. 2 taps and you're set. Tickets are sent directly to your phone, so you never have to dig through your email. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Continue on here, your latest Locked On Browns. Of course, I mentioned Rodrigo Blankenship cut. This could be a connection here with the Browns bringing a little competition for Cade York. Played for Bubba Ventrone during his time with the Indianapolis Colts. I wanted to focus here, and with the Browns being off today, obviously the news we've got is, we're a little relatively slow with the Browns getting an off day today. Do you want me to sit here and dissect the depth chart that has not changed in 4 weeks? No, I didn't think so, and I'm certainly not going to do that. But we're starting on the offensive side of the ball. I don't know if you guys got to hear today, Brian Baldinger, one of my favorite guys breaking down film. Brian Baldinger back in the day definitely had an episode or two here with Locked On Browns. He was on 92.3 The Fan, spoke on Dawand Jones, and felt Dawand Jones was NFL starter ready now, meaning as far as a right tackle. This is a luxury that the Browns probably really, really like to have right now. With Dawand, this, just absolute, basically, clay given to a guy like Bill Callahan. But the thing for Dawand is it was him, and it was, where was he at? Did he want it? And I say this all the time. And, I put this out there. I remember a couple of years ago when we were talking about, Richard LeCounte from, Georgia, and of course, Cleveland Browns here. And, Richard LeCounte, I thought was an intelligent player. I thought he had all the talent in the world. And something came out, and I put out a tweet, well, the question is, does he want it? Richard LeCounte quote tweeted it, and oh yeah, I want it. Well, subsequently cut from the Browns, recently just cut from the Rams. And if you look at their Los Angeles Rams roster, I can name maybe 5 guys on the defensive side of the ball. So if you guys can name more than me, that's great. But it's a roster Richard LeCounte should have made and shouldn't. The want to in a professional athlete is huge. And for Dawand Jones, you're starting to see a player that maybe understands that greatness could be had for him in the NFL. The footwork from the basketball, and that's never fault him for his basketball days, because that's obviously what's gotten him here. The footwork that this guy has for the size he has is just absolutely tremendous. His reach is ridiculous. He could crack me right here. I'm sitting in New Jersey. He's in Berea, for God's sakes. He is an incredible athlete. And you got to see a really, really good test from Dawand Jones Friday night against the Philadelphia Eagles going against Nolan Smith. Nolan Smith is going to be one of the smaller pass rushers in the NFL, certainly one of the smaller pass rushers that a guy like Dawand Jones will face here in the NFL. And he held his own really, really well, probably won certainly more than he lost. And sometimes the guy's just that much athletic. There's not too much you can do about it. For Dawand Jones, though, certainly showed through. Of course, Watkins has been really the talk of it here. I understand there's a numbers game here where Watkins may not make their roster, and I get that. But, for me, it's a hot hand approach, man, and he's really, really shown right now. If I were the Browns, I would find a way to get him a couple of reps Saturday against Kansas City Chiefs with Deshaun Watson, because we've seen him make the plays with everybody he's played with, whether it's Dobbs, whether it's, of course, DTR, whether, of course, it is Kellen Mond. Throw him out there. Throw him the ball with Deshaun Watson. See if it keeps continuing, because the young man has had a really, really nice run to this point. Is there a possibility he could get? Certainly. There is certainly a possibility he does not make this roster. But I would want to give him at least that one more test, get him a couple passes maybe from Deshaun Watson Saturday to see, if this is a guy that's worth, sticking around for a while. And God knows the Browns, have some quirky numbers the way this roster is going to work out, because you got to fit a return man in here. And everybody wants to tell me about Jerome Ford. You're not bringing a guy back off a hamstring injury and rotating him right back in and returning kickoffs. It's not going to happen. He is too important as the number 2 back. Last year, he was the number 4 back. So him returning kicks was a luxury. The Browns do not have that same luxury this season. DTR, there's not enough to be said. The young man came here motivated. You saw what the dividend of playing so much college football is for a player. And you remember years ago, there was the Bill Parcells. He wanted his quarterbacks to start 3 years. There was this whole requirement list. Well, DTR hits all of those. And that's why you're seeing the adaptation to NFL life and NFL gameplay come rather quickly for DTR. The moment is not too big. He's confident in what he's doing. He's, playing in a system that is built for Deshaun Watson, but DTR has a lot of the same abilities as Deshaun Watson. For DTR, look, I've said it, and I'm not going to say he should be the number 2 quarterback. If God forbid something happens to Deshaun Watson, I do not want to see Josh Dobbs. I want to see Dorian Thompson-Robinson. I think he is the most ready to keep this team in contention in ball games. Certainly much more further down the road, in my opinion, than Josh Dobbs. Elijah Moore, David Njoku, the combination of these two guys, Elijah and the Browns using this untapped potential that the Jets never chose to do, and saying, hey, yeah, he's a receiver who runs great routes. He's a receiver who's very fast. He's a receiver who's very athletic. And the Browns saying, and I mentioned this obviously a little bit, further ago, the Browns trying to use some of this Percy Harvin type of stuff. Well, if he's this great, he's this electric with the ball in his hands, we don't have to clarify him as just a wide receiver. He can be an offensive weapon, which means I could put him in the backfield, which, led to him actually getting hurt against, in week 2 of the preseason. He actually said the rib injury was because he landed on the ball, which if anybody's ever played football, not fun. Definitely hurts. And certainly, dragging for air afterwards. But Elijah Moore has been really, really spectacular to this point. Back at practice, I assume he'll be, on the field against Kansas City Chiefs. For the Browns now, though, I don't want to overdo it. I don't. Because the last thing I want to do is start, giving the Cincinnati Bengals things to look for with Elijah Moore. So if he plays Saturday, let him run 2 simple routes, maybe throw him a couple balls, get him the heck out of there, because this special sauce type of thing that he's going to bring to this offense is something, I want the Cincinnati Bengals to be thinking about, the Cincinnati Bengals to be cognizant of, because nobody really knows. He's a jack of all trades. He's a mystery box. And that'd be a really, really big thing for the Cleveland Browns to be able to unveil in that first game of the season. Of course, the home opener against the Cincinnati Bengals. David Njoku. The superlatives just aren't enough. And it's been such an impressive thing to watch 20-year-old David Njoku when he first came to this team. And he was a great athlete, a physical freak, a guy who transitioned to tight end, obviously due to his size and the way, the muscle mass went on and the way he grew. And so a guy who didn't know a whole lot. He just didn't. And it's not his fault, obviously. But just to see the progression in the game. And then when this staff took over and, they brought in, obviously, Austin Hooper. And then you started to see after about 10 or 11 weeks, it was like, well, wait a minute. David Njoku is probably already better than Austin Hooper. Put in more effort in his blocking, became more consistent as a receiver, didn't drop the ball nearly as often as we saw early in his career. And then last year, every time David put together like 2 good weeks, then there was a little ding in David Njoku, and we didn't see him the next week. But for me this year, look, I'm thinking north of 60 receptions. I'm thinking close to 800 yards receiving. I'm thinking somewhere in the 8 to 10 touchdown range. He caught 12 balls in 2022 with inside the red zone. He is great on the rollouts. So for Deshaun Watson, it can always be the point, which means I'm not throwing you the ball. Turn around and go block in front of you because I'm running right up your butt, big boy. But I really think, for David Njoku, and he's been remarkable to this point. And again, you throw the ball over the linebackers, you throw it under the safeties, and you have a 6'4" tight end who's a high jump champion in high school. It's a perfect scenario for David Njoku to succeed. And I think we're really, really going to see that come to fruition for this Cleveland Browns team this year. I am Jeff Lloyd. This is your latest Locked On Browns. Appreciate everybody for being along for the ride. Segment 3 coming up here in just 1 second. Our partners at eBay Motors have teamed up with Locked On Fantasy Football host Vinny Iyer to bring you some of the best fantasy picks each week, all season long. Whether you're prepping for a draft or scouting the waiver wire, every week we're going to provide you players that are guaranteed to fit on your roster. So with draft prep underway for the upcoming season, let's see who Vinny has picked out for us on this week's eBay Guaranteed Fit Fantasy Picks of the Week. Are you looking for a player to take in fantasy football drafts who will spark his new team's offense and also help you speed to victory? Then use a luxury pick on Giants tight end Darren Waller. The former Raider is already riding in style again with Daniel Jones locked into him all throughout training camp in the preseason. The connection is strong enough already to believe Waller will go back to being a reliable cog at his position. Grab him after the top few tight ends are off the board. Vinny Iyer from Locked On Fantasy Football is going to help you win your fantasy championship, and eBay Motors knows a championship team is about each player being a perfect fit. Same with your vehicle. With eBay Guaranteed Fit and over 122 million parts and accessories for your vehicle right at your fingertips, you can make sure your ride stays running smoothly. Air filters, brakes, batteries, taillights, alternators, shocks, struts, you name it, eBay Motors has it. And they'll make sure it's the right fit for your car, because eBay Guaranteed Fit helps you understand exactly what part you need for your vehicle the first time. So go forth, switch gears, crank the AC, and say goodbye to sweating if your ride needs a little fixing up, because now you'll always be set up for success from the get-go. With eBay Guaranteed Fit, everything your vehicle is calling for is just a click away. For the parts and accessories that fit your vehicle, just look for the green check. Get the right parts, the right fit, at the right prices at ebaymotors.com. Let's ride. eBay Guaranteed Fit, only available to U.S. customers. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. Jeff Lloyd, your latest Locked On Browns. Appreciate everybody who makes Locked On Browns their first listen. Ton of new traffic over the last 24 hours, about 70-something or more new subscribers. I appreciate everybody. I've been here hosting Locked On Browns. This is now my 7th season, so I've seen some really bad days. I've seen some pretty damn good days, and hopefully the best of best days are yet to come. Make sure you subscribe to the Locked On Browns YouTube page. Become one of the everydayers, and Locked On Browns, of course, is always available. It's always free wherever you get your podcast. As we talked about in segment 2, some of the offensive stars and names that we weren't really necessary to put in such high praise here in 2023. The same is true of the defensive side of the ball. Mohamoud Diabate, to what he has done to this point. Adams was brought in here as a special teams linebacker, somebody had played for Bubba Ventrone in the past. But you're talking about a guy who's just got the potential to play probably good special teams for your team. Well, Diabate, you want, with the way a positional room is constructed, you're hoping your room is constructed for the now, and hopefully you have some sights on what could possibly be down the road, what could be the future of that room. Diabate could be one of those guys. I mean, and we all saw what he did Thursday night in Philadelphia against the Eagles. The safety was incredible, the pursuit, the physicality. The one question that a lot of draft people had out of Diabate coming out of U2 was, can he get off blocks? Well, the way this Browns D-line is constructed, and it's refreshing to say, he doesn't have to. The defensive line is doing what they're supposed to do. You keep your linebackers clean. Your linebackers pursue. They just go make tackles. If they miss the tackles, that's the problem. If they can't get off the blocks, that's the system problem, or that's the problem of the guys in front of them. So the Browns, and we can say this almost about every linebacker. The kid out of Georgia Tech, Charlie Thomas, looked really good. What we've seen at JOK, him moving around, flying around. Of course, Tony Fields has had a really nice summer to this point too. So the linebacker position as a whole has been something that's really, really been nice to see to this point. Ronnie Hickman, and for me, it doesn't come as a surprise, and anybody knows once, Ronnie Hickman was announced as UDFA signing. Kid from Jersey, made his way to Columbus. Did everything a little bit of everything. At the secondary at Columbus. Ended up being primarily a safety, but still a guy that played some nickel. He just finds the football, man. And, when I talk about these guys who just catch the ball like Watkins is doing right now, there's guys with interception ability. They just somehow seem to find the ball. Ed Reed wasn't the greatest athlete, but the ball just found him. And no, I am not putting Ronnie Hickman in a world where Ed Reed ever played. But sometimes the ball just finds you. And it seems like right now for a guy like Ronnie Hickman, that is something that he's going through. And, the Browns, this has been a team that has been desperate to create turnovers, desperate to get turnovers the last few years. And, DeAnthony Bell versus Ronnie Hickman, we're talking about 5 full calendar years, man. There ain't no way I can keep DeAnthony Bell, knowing I got a guy 5 years younger who's had the preseason that Ronnie Hickman has to this point. So, Ronnie Hickman's been a really, really nice, pleasant surprise. Browns never, ever really dipped their, their pen into the Ohio State ink, but they did pretty hard this year, and so it's some pretty good dividends for them to this point. Sione Ika, and I know a lot of people, I think everybody's expecting maybe more, and it's just not fair. He was not a first-round pick. He's not a guy that comes in and basically was handing a starting gig, and he shouldn't. But he's a guy that's coming in here, and you're starting to see the signs of it. And it comes with effort, and it comes from understanding your natural strength, which is the most difficult thing to do from anybody coming from the NFL, and college football to the NFL. Strength and moving muscle. The guys in the NFL, they are the strongest men probably you will find. And it's not about the weight numbers that they throw up. It's just about how it's performed, the technique that it's done with. And for Ika, I think he's starting to get a little understanding of that, going against a Joe Bitonio every day, going against a Wyatt Teller every day, learning from a guy like Dalvin Tomlinson. If you did hear that Baldinger review today, he mentioned that a lot of the Eagles guys spoke of Dalvin Tomlinson. And we're like, yeah, 330. But, it's trying to move 370. That's the kind of anchor, and that's kind of, build that Dalvin Tomlinson has. The Browns need Sione Ika to obviously be somebody else that he can contribute in that space. And the signing of Shelby Harris was fantastic, but I think you're to see Shelby Harris contribute more as a pass rusher from the interior. There will be plays, obviously, where he's involved in run defense, but I think that's something you're going to see more of. I talked a little bit about it yesterday, but Denzel Ward, I thought it's been a really, really nice summer for Denzel, and getting to go against this group every day. He's really put together, a solid summer. I think he's truly ready to go. We're looking forward to this week 1 matchup. Of course, Denzel versus Jamar Chase. Joe Burrow. We all know we're facing Joe Burrow, right? Nobody believes we're not seeing anybody but Joe Burrow week 1, right? So with Denzel Ward, getting keyed up, tuned up for obviously what is a monster matchup week 1. The Cincinnati Bengals will come to Cleveland, and Cleveland, it's going to be, man, the emotions that are going to come out of that one, either good or bad. They're going to be some legendary Cleveland Brown stuff, and certainly make sure some probably very, very big social media, as we all know, as it goes with this franchise, right, guys? So this is just, something I wanted to get to today. Obviously not a lot of new information to bring to you guys as the Browns had the day off here. Carolina Panthers did also cut a defensive tackle. That'll be something to watch out for where he gets claimed, which will be Tuesday at 4:00. But Deshaun Watson, I think people are sleeping. They are sleeping way too hard. And I think what Deshaun Watson is about to unleash on this NFL this year. Rodrigo Blankenship seems like a guy that could come in and compete here for the rest of the week. Has the ties to Bubba Ventrone. So something to keep your eyes on and watch out for there. Offensive stars of camp to this point. Defensive stars of camp to this point. Got to a ton here. We'll get to it back again tomorrow. Again, as always, I want to thank everybody. It was amazing to see the numbers the show did yesterday. Obviously, all the new traffic that came through with it. Look, Locked On Browns, 5 days a week minimum. We are here. We are locked in, locked on here at Locked On Browns, getting ready and getting amped up here for what will be, hopefully, one of the best Cleveland Browns seasons of all time. So, again, make sure you are part of the Everyday Crowd. Join the Everyday Crowd. Make sure you subscribe to Locked On Browns YouTube channel. Appreciate everybody who makes Locked On Browns your first listen every single day. Always available, always free, wherever you get your podcasts. And this has been your daily delivery of all things Dog Pound. LGB on the LOB. Let's go Browns.